Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are in the Netherlands and we're going to do a little bit of location scouting, a bit of photography for a project, an ongoing project that I'm doing called Concrete Structures, for which I try to find interesting locations and photograph structures or buildings primarily built with concrete. And those pictures are also taken in monochrome. So for that I have been using the Leica M10 Monochrom. But today we're going to do a little bit of comparison because I also brought the Hasselblad X2D with a couple of lenses, and I mainly want to check if the output of the X2D, converting it to black and white, can compete or might even surpass the quality I can get with the Leica M10. So, welcome to this first location. It's a bunker that has been cut in half and it provides for some very nice compositions. There's a very nice use of symmetry here. The structure itself is very interesting. Also the setting, there are a couple of other bunkers here as well. Let's try out some compositions. A short word on the gear that I'm using today. So for the Hasselblad I have the 55mm prime lens, and on the Leica M10 I'm using the trusty 50mm Summilux, shooting them wide open, but of course also going for maximum image quality, putting them at f5.6, f8, and I'm really trying to see which system gets the most quality for black and white photography. But so far very happy with this location. I'm going to do a couple of more compositions. Down the path here there's a bit of it going into the water. Sitting inside here, a couple of cool details that I'm also going to take a shot of. It's not every day that you see a large concrete structure like this being cut in half, and really seeing a couple of cool details here. So this was location number one. I had high hopes for this structure and it surely delivered. I'm especially a big fan of the more symmetrical compositions. I also like the fact by using a 50 that is pretty tight, so the focus is very, very clear. On to the next location. Okay, so it started raining, that's why I'm going to do this little segment from the car. Second location, it's a university building in Delft. It's the conference center, a brutalist building, very interesting to look at, but quite challenging, to be honest, to photograph. So I took a bit of time to walk around. First I tried a couple of detail shots, because when I tried to take an establishing shot it was a little bit too messy to my taste. So I tried to get a bit of a feel for the building, and then afterwards I went up the hill of the library, which is just on the other side of the building itself, and that gave me quite a nice perspective, quite a nice vantage point. And I was lucky there were a couple of kids playing as well, so for black and white photography they contrasted very nicely. On one side of the building you had a couple of very dark elements that contrasted very nicely with the gray skies, and there was one like a protruding element, looked a bit like a control unit or a cockpit of a spaceship of sorts. So I tried to take a more detailed shot of that. If there's one thing that I still am hoping that Hasselblad will add in the near future, and it's to preview the images in black and white. Just one profile that gives us a preview or JPEG settings to look at the images in black and white. That would be huge, because still when I'm looking at the M10 monochrome backside of the screen, it's always very satisfying to see the final results, or at least visualize something in black and white. As a bonus, I also did a third location not too far from where I live. It's an old factory building that has been repurposed as an exclusive loft apartment building, and a part of the structure is these 4 concrete silos that are quite interesting to look at, and in some nice evening lights provided for some nice photography subjects as well. So let's look at the 3 images side by side of the ones that I captured there. And I also want to share one portrait I made with both cameras of my son, who is currently changing his teeth. So an important moment of life that I wanted to capture, and it's just a nice example of what you can get for a monochrome portrait. Okay, so what have I learned from this little experiment? Well, a couple of things. The Leica M10 Monochrome with its 40 megapixels, I always had the feeling that it punched above its weight when you looked at image quality and sharpness and the level of detail that you could capture with that sensor. But if I look at the output of a 100 megapixel medium format sensor that has incredible IBIS, I have to say that it actually surpasses what I could capture with the M10 Monochrome. The sheer level of detail that is captured with this medium format system is unparalleled in my experience. Even if you look at the files from a distance, you do see this extra richness, this extra level of detail that has been captured. Of course, it's a larger system. The lenses are larger. The lenses are not as fast as what you can get on the Leica M. And that's also for me still one of the unique value propositions. So the Leica M10 Monochrome does deliver stunning image quality on its own, while doing it in a small package with light lenses. You can also use new lenses for a more modern look, but you can also go vintage and get a little bit more character with some old lenses on the Leica M system. So that versatility is certainly there. But if we're looking at peak image quality, the color sensor of the Hasselblad and converting it to monochrome delivers incredible results, in my opinion. Also, if you look at dynamic range, one of the strong suits or one of the strong points of the Leica M, also the Hasselblad, nothing to complain here. I didn't do high ISO tests because, of course, the Leica M10 at high ISOs does shine, but the Hasselblad counterbalances that with its incredible IBIS system. So if I have to crank up the ISO on the M10 Monochrome, I can keep the ISO relatively low on the Hasselblad because the IBIS will just cover that part for the more static subjects that I tend to do now, for example, with architecture. So really curious to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think of the output of both systems? Do you have a favorite, yes or no? Leave all your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.